I built this studio mainly because I needed the ventilation. You're heating wax and oil paint and putting a lot of that stuff in the air. Probably a lot of it is heavy metals. And so I needed something with an exhaust. I never really built anything vertical, but the more I built, the more I got into it, and the more I realized I wanted this place to be some place that I could really enjoy and be creative in. My materials are 100% pure beeswax, Damar resin, which is an actual tree resin. It comes in crystal form, and I usually put it in a heavy-duty bag and hit it with a hammer until it's pulverized, and this way it will melt easier. The purpose of the resin is to give the finished product a harder surface. And as time goes by and the wax and the oil paint really dry, they actually become pretty durable. After I make my mixture of oil paint and resin and wax, I apply it with those very inexpensive black foam brushes that you get from Lowe's, Home Depot, the dollar store. You know, I have a bunch of different reds, but I only have one blue that I like to use. And every time I try another blue, I think, no way. After I put the layers down, I fuse with a heat gun each layer. The bottom layer gets fused to the substrate, which of course is the wood, and becomes part of it then because it seeps into all of the organic cracks in the wood and little pores. And then each layer then gets fused to the bottom layer, to the layer beneath it. So when I'm completely finished with a painting, it is not layers anymore. It's actually one big surface of wax wrapped around that piece of wood. So it's no wonder that encaustics have survived thousands of years and have been found in good shape. Any minor scratch or bump or dent will just take a heat gun in the hands of the artist, and they can be repaired. I've done it many times because, of course, I'm carrying them back and forth to shows. So they do pick up little dings and places that mar the surface, but they're easily repairable. When I began making the switch from acrylic, although I started with oil, but when I made the switch from acrylic to encaustic, I sort of continued doing what I always did, which was landscapes, abstracted landscapes. I feel that there's something about the horizon that is wired into our minds from our primitive times. We're either looking for danger, or we're looking for weather, or we're looking for changes of the seasons, but I feel that primitive man has always looked toward the horizon. Then I began to explore, and they are not all meant to be jellyfish, but in my mind I call them all jellies, even though people see flowers, mainly I want them to see just an abstract composition. That's what I'm going after. I want them to see a combination of colors that I have found unique. And what I do is I start with bottom layers of color, and before I got ready to really get down to business, this whole piece of wood was covered with many layers of blue and red and yellow and black, and then my final layer was white, many layers of white. Then I take my blowtorch and I fuse the bottom layer smooth, and then I come in for the kill, so to speak, and then those bottom layers come bubbling up to the top, and sort of it's a play with how close, how intense, because besides the heat, there's also the force of the gun that I'm using. So you're just sort of weighing that as you go along, and I do that many times, so it looks like I have many circles on there and circles of color, and suddenly I know when to stop. And that's nothing I can put into words. I never compare myself to other artists. I always say, I do what I do, and I know that there are people who like it. And I kind of think that that's the way all artists should approach their work. I do what I do.